The city of Savannah has always been known for its African American culture, especially in the 5th District, where I live. Over 50 years ago, my mother and father developed a home in the 5th District, in Liberty City to be exact. And since that time, we have lost our voice and struggled to find the really great leadership that makes us really proud. Our culture, our heritage, and our land have been questioned. But if you join me, Robert Bryant, next year in 2023, we can get to work and believe in change that we can all be proud of. So join me, let's believe in a change, and together we will make the District 5 stronger. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Robert Bryant here with another Citizens Connection on Our Black Media. Tonight, I have two beautiful ladies, so y'all can see some beauty other than me. But we have an important topic tonight, you all. As you know, Citizens Connection is a way for me to share with you who I am as I walk this journey towards becoming the next alderperson for the 5th District of Savannah, which means serving on City Council. Remember that word, serving. So last night we had some conversations here at the house, and there were just some pieces that kind of disturbed me as I think through our Black community here in Savannah. And I have some guests here who will help us talk through that tonight. But most importantly, our topic tonight is we can't afford another liability. So I'm going to turn the reins over to Ms. Shante McLaughlin. But before we do that, if I could get Ms. Gwen Thornton, if you could introduce yourself and tell us who you are and why you're so tied into this advocacy piece. And then I will ask Ms. McLaughlin to introduce herself, and she will be our co-host and facilitate our conversation. So let's get started. Ms. Thornton.
Good evening. I hope all can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
We hear you. You're a little bit low, but go for it.
My feed is not a little. Okay. Well, my name is Melinda Gwen Thornton, and I want Robert for inviting me on the program. I'm the president of the Cloverdale Neighborhood Association, Cloverdale, the 1st District, and I'm born and raised in Savannah. My parents were Reverend and Mrs. Willie. People know my family, and we have a running joke that my father either pastored half Savannah, counseled half Savannah. So a lot of people know me, and advocacy is in my blood. I love my community. I love my city. It troubles me to see the missteps that many have made. I say that nicely, because unfortunately, many have gotten so caught up in wanting to have all Black or an all white council or people in power till they have lost the point of we need to have in office who are willing to advocate for people so that all of us can move forward. And the reality for us, and when I say us, the people of color, we have had people who have not delivered. They have been given the opportunity through votes from the people support and represent and advocate for our needs and our concerns, and it has not materialized. Not one policy has been written to advance our community from Mayor Adams, I mean, from to today. And many will disagree with me or be upset that I have said that, but that's the reality. District has been very involved, uh, is still involved, but when you drive through Cloverdale, Carver Village, you just look with your own eyes and tell me what you see. Or not.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Shantae McLaughlin. I am a native of Michigan and I grew up here in Savannah, Georgia. Robert and I actually met at Durin Middle School, which is no longer Durin, which is right up the street. And we went to Windsor Forest High School together. And I graduated Windsor Forest and then moved to Atlanta. And as an adult, I returned to Savannah twice, well, once, and I work for Black business professionals and entrepreneurs as executive director of marketing, and I work as a temp for SCAD in President Paula Wallace's office. So I have a little experience with SCAD's expansion, and what I'll say is I'm honored and privileged to be joining you today. So thank you for having me
Well,
as a
thank
guest
you.
and a
Thank you.
co-host.
Yeah.
And thank you for being gracious with your words, Miss Melinda. It's very nice to meet you, although it's just on camera. And I'm familiar with the Liberty City neighborhood. I think between Sharita and Arky and Terrence and all of them, I spent a lot of time in Liberty City as a teenager. And my mother worked for Gulfstream, so people don't necessarily know my name. A quick fact, though, is that I am George Washington Carver's secretary was my great great grandmother. So I feel very strongly about things that impact African American culture and people of color. And I work as an organizer and an activist and a change agent and whatever words we'd like to utilize to express the need for community. And community doesn't have to look brown or black.
Yeah, it's interesting if I could kind of bring this piece up.
Sure.
And for both of you all, and I'll talk less because I've done other citizens connection. But in the spirit of conversation, Melinda's right around the corner in Cloverdale. And Shantae, I think a great part to start with is you're in Atlanta. You've seen different cities. You've seen Michigan. You've seen Texas. You've seen a number of places. What and you were in this conversation last night. It was a very spirited conversation, and you have those. And I've talked about this, Melinda, with we, the city, the government, what have you, the local government, and we, the people. And it seems that sometimes people get in the way of leaning towards this person or these individuals because they're a friend. They go to my church or my cousin. But like you said, Melinda, they haven't put towards any policy. You live in a neighborhood where the older person has been there for a long time and there's been no change. I live in an area where we had a 12-year piece of leadership and there's no change. And so let's start there. Like, well, how do we get past this ideology of this is my friend, this is my church member, and into an ideology of you talked about Washington. Washington Du Bois had the same conversation. But how do we get to this Du Bois kind of thought process where we are advancing our community and not advancing our friend, our neighbor, our cousin?
Melinda, would you like to answer that or would you like for me?
Well, I'd love to expound. We have when I assumed this position of president via vote, or I ran into a situation where many of our neighbors, there was a feeling of and prior to me moving to this position, my former our former president Victor Curtis Cooper, who had done a tremendous job. He was advocating many, many things and did it to a degree. Our alderwoman, Vanilla Lanier, they were good friends and advocated for a lot of things. And we are frustrated, but what I strive my neighbors and others in the city period to understand, you have to look at the issue. What has been done, what is being done, and what needs to be done, and how can we get it done. Bag of Skittles. You have got to have a heart for where you live and for this city. But as I shared if you give, if you compromise your integrity, a remnant, that's it. And unfortunately, we've had people to compromise in that are not, that don't benefit everyone. And they are, some are just so comfortable that in my house, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But we all have to be concerned. We all have to get involved because it may not be your house it may not be your house this afternoon. It doesn't even have to wait until tomorrow. It could be your house in the next second. So you don't know will befall you. So we need people to get involved, not get hung up on this is my friend, not get my church member. Are you doing what is ethically, morally, and legally right? Are you doing something for your community that will raise all the ships? Or are you just trying to raise the ships that are ride and just damming up some of the issues with rocks that you can keep secluded? We can't do, we've got to get beyond my friend, my family member, my cousin. I have to support them be that before, for that. If they for office, if they don't know the issues, if they have not been involved, if they cannot clearly articulate, running for office right now might not be what you need to do. You may need to step back and what platform you need to form. Or you need to make certain that you are talking with the resident, striving to see what is needed, what has been done, and how can we make it. Too many people are doing that, I find. And Robert, I've shared that with you. I spoke with you when you were contemplating this run. My point to you was, son, make sure you know what has been done, what hasn't been done, what needs to be done. You've spoken with the neighbors, listening and advocating for them, not only yourself, because you're a resident as well. And what you as well. But we need to be making certain that we are doing all that we need to do.
So what I'll say is,
I hope that makes
oh, my apologies. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It froze for a moment.
sense. I'm done. You go ahead.
Thank you. What I'll say is, first of all, I don't think that there is any more or any person more qualified to run than you.
Thank you.
And I say that because first, running for public office is not an easy task. And I have firsthand experience with that in the Atlanta metro area. So it's not an easy task. Secondly, people forget that when you run for office, you are a public servant. Your first and only and primary job should be to serve the public. Everything after that is after that. The public comes first. Now, with running a campaign, it does get difficult to take into consideration every single voice for your platform, but you are representing every single person when you stand there as an alderman or alderwoman to represent your community. So you have to be able to stand up and say, I'm the voice of the people, and stand behind that. And I think that you do a great job with that. When we start talking about the morals and the ethics and everything else, I try not to get too much involved in any of that because I believe that what's morally right for me may not be morally right for someone else. And I try to remove myself from judgment. And what I do look at is this city is going through gentrification. And on a statewide level, there aren't livable wages. So with gentrification comes higher rent, higher mortgages because of taxes, higher taxes for those who own their homes free and clear. And you have like neighborhoods like the Cloverdales, the Liberty Cities, the Tremont Park. And you have these people who have been in these communities for generations, and now they're either aged or their children are off at college or somewhere, and they're having to make a decision. Not a choice, because a choice is something that can be changed for the most part, but a decision on what do we do? Do we keep mom and dad's house? Do we sell it? Do we do we buy medication this month? Do we buy groceries this month? They're making decisions, life altering, life changing decisions. And that comes down to public policy. And the public policy of the people who are in office, they could stop what's happening from happening. And we have to stop just electing people who look like us. And I'm a fan of brown and black people being in office. But, and I usually don't use the word but I'm going to use the word but if we elect a white person who can advance the initiatives of the community as a whole, then that's not a bad thing either. You know, we're supposed to be in a country where we're all equal, we're all one, and where we all have equal representation. And we don't have that right now. We have too many elected officials who have been bought out and who are on somebody's payroll. We have too many elected officials who no longer care about the word community. They don't care about serving the community, and they don't care about anything that's going to impact anyone other than their households. And that's where the circle of friends and the cliques come into being, and the names or the church members. And that's why people are above being reprimanded, where they don't want to be told, don't tell me what to do. You can't tell me this, because they're usually the ones footing the bill at the end of the day. So we have to start working collectively to restore community and bring back a sense of community so that these historically Black communities can thrive and continue on. I think that the property values increasing is a great thing, because in Atlanta, we have problems where, you know, I ran for city council in East Point, and East Point probably will never have the same property value as a Buckhead, regardless of what they say that the crime numbers are or aren't. Midtown and Buckhead have the highest crime numbers, actually. But the property value will never be the same, because there's too many people, as my Jewish friends have told me, that I live in sketchy neighborhoods because I choose predominantly Black neighborhoods. And I told them that white neighborhoods are sketchy neighborhoods for me, because that's where the police pull you over when you look like me. So we have to start having real open cross-cultural dialogue. And if white people are going to move into the neighborhood, we have to be able to have those kind of conversations. But we have to keep as many families, you know, the Bryants are a family that's been here for generations, and they need to stay in this community, as well as everyone around. You know, there's the Jenkins, there's the Hines, there's a lot of in Cloverdale. Desma Patterson was my college roommate. So before they moved out to Georgetown, they lived in Cloverdale. And I've known her since they lived in Cloverdale. So we have to keep a lot of the families in the communities that were put there to serve Black people and be a safe space for people to raise their family.
It's interesting you said safe space, and Leonard's going to love this conversation. Well, not love it, but it's disappointing to me. It's disappointing that we have areas like Weeping Time, and I'm going to get to a point in a minute. I want you all to think about Weeping Time. Melinda, I want us to talk about Ogeechee. I'm going to take Chantel a little bit. Ogeechee is a very small town in the first district. And right now, you have an all black council, but you have two in particular that I'm laser focused on, but one really I'm laser focused on because I'm going to be there in November. But you got Ogeechee when you have a black community, and the city has allowed a chemical plant or an industrial plant, and this industrial plant has proven to kill our people in that community, and these people have had cancer. You have a used car lot with parts, like people come pulling parts. You have this alderwoman who supported that expansion of that car lot into a black community. So you got Ogeechee, but yet you have an all black council. At the top of that ticket is a black male who, by the stroke of a pen, can change that dynamic. So we have a community, Melinda, and I want you to talk more about it, where our black people are being killed and their land is being taken, but yet we got people who live in the first district and the fifth. And what's going on? Why are we doing this to one another? Why are we allowing the developers of SCAD to take our land, and why are we allowing industrial people to kill our people?
Can I expound on that one?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll be brief, Miss Melinda. So I actually had now this was life altering for me. I had the privilege, the first time that I ever went front line in any kind of protest was with the late Reverend Lowry. And that was protesting Plant Volto, which is owned by Georgia Power. People don't realize that when you pay your power bills, you pay for those types of expansions. And so with paying for those type of expansions, everyone's complaining now about power bills going up by $30 to $40, but they're not looking at conversations like the one that you're having. And Plant Volto, actually, the water runs through Savannah. And this was over a decade ago, because, Reverend Laurie's been deceased for a while now. And so if you want to date it back, it's been at least 15, 16 years since we did this protest. And with this protest, they were taking land then. And with this protest, they were poisoning the Savannah River. There were dead animals along the lines when we walked through the water basin and like along the lines and everything. And we left Atlanta and it was a full day event, but it kind of fell under deaf ears. It just went away. And people know that Voltol is a problem, but Georgia Power, having the level of power that they have and the level of influence that they have on a lot of elected officials and a lot of decision makers, because I don't want to put the weight just on an elected official. When you have a lot of decision makers, which are the developers, which are the builders, which are the investors, which are the bank owners, like these people are getting funding. And we have to be able to ask the questions of where are the funds coming from? How do you do this? How do you poison an entire state? How do you poison an entire state and go steal land and it's legal and stop allowing it to be legal? So I just wanted to share that portion, that this has been going on for at least 15 years. And I'm sure that you said the
Ogeechee.
Ogeechee, because I was thinking of over there in Garden City when we were in high school and they had that chemical spill, and it was a class action lawsuit that also went very silent for a lot of the residents of Ogeechee and MLK and Victory Drive, where they were poisoned and had a lot of cancer problems from Garden City.
Right.
So it's like we can't let these kinds of conversations go and fall on deaf ears and become silent. We have to be able to push the envelope for them to start making national news and getting national attention. And even going further than that, I'm a WILFER, the Women's International League of Peace and Freedom. It's the oldest white ran women organization that protests nuclear waste and nuclear warfare. So I just got appointed. I think I did. They asked me to be a board member where my accountability is to the United Nations. So it's a conversation that I can definitely take to them on your behalf.
Oh yeah, we need to.
And have you discuss how they're poisoning the river and killing off citizens and human beings.
Melinda, any feedback? Because I definitely want you to give us some feedback on Geechiton. But while you're preparing your statement, let me give this speech talk on real
That
quick
would be
on Plant Vogel. When I ran for public service commissioner along with
okay.
Daniel Blackman, can you hear me, Melinda? Yeah, I'll let you kind of get your volume together, but
Yes.
let me state this. Um, Daniel Blackman and I ran for public service commissioner. I hate to do this, but I told you so. And that's why this is why advocacy and listening to people is so more important. If we don't plan now, if we don't take advocacy now, if we don't take these issues serious now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you have an issue where uh, your light bill goes up by $30, and guess what? They have two more rate hikes that are coming to you before January. This is something Daniel Blackman talked about in 2020.
Hmm. Hmm.
Not only that, but the people of Waynesboro are not going to get cancer off a nuclear reactor. So what I want people to realize is elections are they count. It may not impact you. It may not impact my neighbor. Hey, I always hear Alicia Miller Blakely say, we're going to be fine. And what she means by that is none of us are wealthy, rich, or anything, but we're going to be comfortable. But what we got to think about is that mom that needs us, that mom who needs an advocate, our voice at the table. We got to think about that elderly person who's on a fixed income. That's the people we got to think about. It's not just about us. One of the things my dad always prayed about is that God put enough on this earth. We learn how to share and advocate and care for one another. We don't do that enough. Definitely don't do it here in the community. But Melinda, talk more about Ogeechee and help us to understand what's going on and how can we, even though we don't live in Ogeechee, what bothers me about my older person is you should be right there advocating along with them because it's a black neighborhood. That's just what we need to be doing. But I'll hush Melinda to go ahead and give you a spill on that. Just go ahead. Ogeechee. We're talking about Ogeechee.
Okay, I hear you now. Okay, for some reason, signing out. As far as Gilgeechiton, which is south of Cloverdale, Mr. and Mr. Law is the president of Ogeechee, and they have done in advocating for their community and striving to reach out and get support to to deal with things because they are really dealing with the encroachment of businesses over there. And unfortunately, under Michael Brown, there was a lot happen over there, and it has affected their health. It has affected their and other things environmentally. This company that Robert is referring to, it abuts the behind Cloverdale. And so we are impacted by that in that we are dealing with the companies on Tremont Road. We are dealing with, the encroachment right next to our wetlands, things and what. All of these things are happening. But I will say, and I want to touch slightly on the Vogel in that for many years, as you all know, a lot of these little announcements would come in our and unfortunately, many people don't look at their bills. They don't look at those little announcements that come in. They only look for how much do I owe and where can I pay it. So they don't pay attention to the breakdown of radioactive to the building of this radioactive site, because it doesn't affect me, it's not affecting my house, but and people don't realize that. I was sharing with Robert earlier, many of these things that are being just happen. Folks have planned for 10 to 20 to 30 years. And if you want to know what's going on, look at that has everything in that's going to happen unless change legislation or changed by a council with real policy. These things are planned for Savannah. We don't pay, and those of us who are in these communities are yelling. Many are yelling, we need help. Like on what? On Horton Hears a Who, we're here. Okay, we're here. But unfortunately, those many listening. We were fortunate to have Alderwoman Lanier to be elected to the district because unfortunately for many, many, many years, and for those of you that don't, Mayor Van Johnson was the aldermanic representative for this district for several years. Okay, and he likes to use that phrase, may the work I've done speak for me. All I can say, and I'm true, just drive through the first and see how it has what has been done and what hasn't been done. We cannot longer sit back and allow the repetition of voting for the citizen. Let me put it this way. Why would you vote for someone, put them back in office when they were, or give them a promotion when they didn't do anything to benefit you in the first place? A lot of people are quick to say, oh, that's not right now, because Van did a good job during COVID. The question is, what did he do?
Hell, I did a good job during COVID.
I did too. For city,
Policies
there was so much COVID relief
that,
money during COVID where it was difficult for any elected official to not do a good job. They say that the money didn't roll out. The money didn't roll out into the community, but the municipalities had the money. The municipalities had that money in 2020 that didn't get spent because everybody was shutting their houses. So there's no reason why people were going without food. There's no reason why people had to try to figure out where to buy masks. There's no reasons. I mean, they sent in money for COVID relief to every municipality. So that's weak for anyone who they need to get a new claim or argument.
So when you ask the question, what did he do? They can't tell you anything. Now, am I trying to slam him? No. I'm speaking facts. Show me the facts. Policy been implemented to help us. When I say us, the African American community, the rise in taxes, the rise in rent, the frustration of not receiving the we are entitled to. For the years that I have been president of the association out here, and prior to we have been asking for cameras. We have been asking for speed breaks. We have been asking for maintenance from the city on our ditches and our medians. We have not been asking for a lot for these same things for many, many years. Alderwoman Lanier has been in office, in the office meeting with Jay over and over again with the same information that we've been requesting. And guess what? Are we asking for extraordinary, unusual, unreasonable items? Well, no, we are asking for items us continue to be proactive. I consider Cloverdale a proactive community. We do all we can to keep crime down. We actually look out for each other out here. Those of us who are not afraid to help our neighbor and look out for our neighbors. We strive to do that in our report. Low to no crime when we receive our monthly reports from our neighborhood officers. But we can't get cameras that will help us. We still can't get speed breaks to deal with come on, we can't get in the
Well,
spot shotter,
Melinda, it's like this.
and we've been told over coming. It's coming doesn't help me now.
Well, Melinda, check this out. You made a good point. I want to even break it down to people. All of us have to go out and seek a job unless we're all wealthy. And I don't know anybody who doesn't have to work. But when you go to work, when you apply for a job, you have to submit a resume. I'm going to ask every voter, go look at their resume.
Mhm.
You talk about, I want to talk about the fifth district. I'll never forget, I went to a community meeting. And I know the story because I've talked to this resident and I'll never forget it, unlike some people I'm running against. Forget things. But this resident talked about having just an ADA compliant sidewalk. And so when he questioned the current representative, it gave this bogus answer. And the sad thing about it, Melinda, you and I talk about this all the time. Y'all don't know who people know. So all this resident did was pick up the phone and found out that was a lie. Well, I don't understand with our representatives that look like us. If the people in these neighborhoods pay taxes, and by the way, the person I'm running against has voted to raise every fee and tax in the city of Savannah, period. I got to go check the facts. But if you represent these people, if they're paying taxes, and by the way, Melinda, you and I pay both city and county tax. So if they're paying, why can't they get the basic essentials? And I'm gonna tell you why. They don't want to put cameras in our neighborhoods. Part of the formula for gentrification is let the crime go up, make the areas look bad, let it run down like they're doing in Yamacraw, and then guess what? Now we can come in because now it's an opportunity zone.
Well, one more thing, another part too.
Mm-hmm.
I learned this in school.
Yeah.
I'm at Morehouse School of Medicine, and this is one of the things, facts that I learned, and this can be fact checked. Lyndon Johnson, President Lyndon Johnson, when he was in office, when it comes to community block grants, there is a clause in them that says militarization of the police. So whenever there is any kind of gentrification takes place, there's usually a beautification campaign that comes right behind it. Inside of those beautification campaigns, and I've done community service with Keep Atlanta Beautiful, which is a part of Keep America Beautiful. So with all of those community incentives, there is militarization of the police, which means they already have cameras. They don't have to go look for the funding because that's what they'll usually cop out to. We don't have the funds for it right now. We don't have the money for it. But they're in the community block grants. So when you see those those SPLOST campaigns, the T-SPLOT, they're usually in those campaigns or in those grants. And all they have to do is just allocate the money to be used in the community. But the other part to be aware of with asking for those things to happen, because sometimes we don't always know everything that we're asking for. In Atlanta, they've started things where with a lot of our Black neighborhoods, when they start the beautification, they also implement bringing in police. They allocate some of the houses and property at the front of the complexes or subdivisions to be utilized for police. So if you were to pull into a Liberty City, or if you were to go into a Cloverdale or a Tremont Park or any of those neighborhoods, the first houses that you see would be police houses. That way they can police and monitor the neighborhood. So that's the other part to be mindful of with a lot of the block grants and the community funding. But inside of a lot of the revenue structures, such as in Atlanta, we have the Atlanta Regional Commission. I think they have a Coastal Regional Commission or something like that.
Right.
They have funds for things like speed bumps. So it doesn't always have to come out of the community block grants. It can come from some of the other organizations who have grants and funding to fund those same resources as well.
Well, what we have here in Savannah, we just have a blatant, and Melinda, if I'm wrong, we just have a blatant hatred for self-culture. That's what it comes down to. Anytime you got an all-Black council, in particular, this particular council who understands the value of our community, well, should understand the value of our community, you will understand the 1st and the 5th district are where our Black communities are located because our people couldn't go anywhere else in this city. That's what burns my gears with the current representation we have in some of these areas and at the top of the ship. Because at the end of the day, we couldn't go to Havisham Woods at Georgetown like we can now. We had to come over here. And why is it that the MPC 2040 plan demonstrates if anybody see people want to say, "Oh, you beating down on the mayor, you beating on all the ones." No, I'm being for real. Anytime you're going to come up in here and tell me you can't advocate for weeping time, that you can't advocate to make sure that the residents around that fairground are heard, who do you think you are? These are our elders. It
Right.
irks me. I got so heated in an argument last night because what bothers me is quit allowing people to come jerk you around, and just because they're your homeboy, your church member, your cousin, you're gonna give them a pass? No. When I win that seat, Melinda, like you do now, and like Leonard Smalls does now, and like so many others, tell me when I'm jacked up. Because if you're not willing to tell people that you're jacked up, that you're not a real friend and you're not a real family member. Because at the end of the day, for you to sit here and allow people to sell out your own people, that blows my mind. There should never have been an argument about weeping time. Never. And I've said it before, and I'll say it here tonight. I will exercise every power, including eminent domain, to reclaim the weeping time property. Period. I said it three or four times. That's the kind of leadership we need in the city of Savannah. But when you talk about Atlanta, Melinda,
But
we're
the
not
one
Atlanta, and
thing
I'm not
you
looking
have
for us
to
to grow like Atlanta.
remember, Robert,
But hold on, Melinda, one more thing, and I'm gonna
right?
hush. What Maynard Jackson and Andrew Young did in Atlanta was phenomenal. They now have a city where we don't have to go anywhere but within our community to get resources. Why can't we do the same thing?
Well, I tell you, um, we realize where that nowhere is a utopia, and everywhere is going to have their issues. But the one thing I can say for Cloverdale is that we have been Cloverdale residents have been for generations. And I mean, with the first alderman, the first county commissioner, when I say black, rather, the first black commissioner, the first uh, black alderman, we have produced mayors, aldermen, alderwomen, lawyers, teachers, professors. We have contributed various qualified, educated people. And unfortunately, through the years, a breakdown has happened where, to Robert earlier, I heard a minister say, preaching a message many, many, many years ago, and I never forgot it. And the circuit was mine is mine, I'm going to keep it. What's yours is mine, I'm going to take it. And that is once some get in office and they become water toters and they don't look at what it would be to benefit all. Ogeechee should never be dealing with what they are. But it didn't just begin. What Cloverdale is facing, it didn't just begin. Tied to Town was a conversation that took place many years ago. So that was a conversation that took place many years ago. People want to jump on the arena because Alderman part of that. That was something that Curtis Cooper, our former president, was a part of. Ms. Roosevelt Dixon, a former Cloverdale, was a part of that because we were striving to have something that could be an economic driver for this. Definitely, the pattern of behavior has been when these ideas are presented and they have potential for and they become something that it were never intended to be. Just like the waterworks, we have been trying to get the waterworks to be an open air market and entrepreneur center for our business incubator, for people to go and develop skills and to be able to sell their wares and provide foods and whatnot, because they say we don't have the proper density to have a grocery store. Okay, but here we go, right? It's being hijacked before it even gets off the ground. It's being hijacked. We've gone from 20 million, and if you saw the last city council alderwoman Lanier, who is usually very chill, she wasn't on the combus in that last meeting,
Right.
because she did not agree that was said that she agreed to. She did not agree to $10 million. Okay, she have never come to the residents and said to us, we have $10 million to work with. When you and I both know you can't do my $10 million when it comes to what needs to be done for that area. And
Right.
we know that was not so. And she was trying to make that point,
Right.
advocating residents that can have been advocating for what is needed. But when you have a mayor, include the weeping time, Robert, when you have a mayor, not just the mayor in his pocket five, when you have individuals well educated in the history of the weeping time and the magnitude of scarring that it inflicted Georgia, but the United States, because it was the largest sale of enslaved people of slavery. For you to have the audacity to sit there and say you are working for us to have a slave museum,
Which
really,
is a
bro?
lie. It's a lie. It's a flat foot lie.
Total complete. So if you're going to, I mean, at least know your stuff. Okay, we did not ask for a slave. We need a slave museum. We don't want a slave museum. Okay, if you want to do something, talk to the people. Oh, wait a minute. The people have told you over and over and over again what they need. And the person that we elected in the body of all the women presenting these requests year after year, same song, different day.
Right.
Nothing has been done for us. Everybody else around us is getting what they need. And here you have Ardsley Park, they get this for new sidewalks. Oh, and as far as the cameras are ordered. Oh, guess what? When it comes to cameras for us, we get bumped else. I actually had one of the majors say to me, um, you all have cameras in your community, and I've not seen them. And when I spoke with someone else in charge and had them to actually go check, you don't have them. So I said to them, well, I am going to need, when that becomes one word, I, and they found out and saw and went back and reported to the other major. Cloverdale doesn't have cameras. So I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but what I would ask and plead for those who are looking to run for office, know what is going on in the community that you are represent, the communities that you are striving to represent. Know what the needs are. Know what has been done, needs to be done, and should you be fortunate to be elected to represent, don't forget who put you there.
Don't forget. Say it again. Don't
Don't
forget what.
leave them behind. Don't flip. Don't leave the
Well. Here's
people
the thing, Melinda.
behind.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Be your
The
rep.
reason people
Be
flip.
your
I'm gonna tell you
constituent.
why the reason people flip. See, here's the thing. Because and I'm gonna talk about it. You got an East Side alderman and a Midtown alder person. Both of them flip. Let me tell you something about something like right quick. When people ain't used to having resources, and I'm gonna use it like that, and I'm be nice about it. When you put gold in front of a person like that, they're gonna jump on it. See, and I've had this conversation with people. I'm not rich, no millionaire, whatever, but I'm comfortable and I'm blessed, and I understand my purpose of God. You can't dangle no carrot and no gold in my face and think I'm gonna sell my people out. What I look like, Melinda, sitting here with a big buffet of food, and I'm eating over here, and Shantae over here not eating. See, to me, that baffles me. But when you got people who are unethical, who don't care, and in it for the wrong reasons, it's easy to dangle a piece of carrot in their face and let them run. And that's why a lot of these people right now we're talking about are controlled by the developers and scared. They will jump in the middle of a dime. And when somebody put money in your pocket, guess what you're gonna do? Do what they tell you to do.
Well, I tell you, it's true what you're saying. It really is. Um, but I'm I'm gonna tell you my integrity. You can't afford it because I'm not for sale.
And then, but
And because I have to live with myself,
that's right.
and I have to wake up every morning and know that Melinda, did you do all that you could to serve your neighbor today? And ask, did you sell yourself out for $1? I, uh-uh. I'm not going to do it. I've had so many people ask me office, and I've said to them, that's not my calling right now. And guess what? I can say and do in the position I'm in and not be constrained or confined to the regulations of those in office. And yet people who are passionate and honest and sincere in office, at the same time, we need people who are not in office willing to be justice and just as earnest in trying to improve their neighborhoods. Back to a point we mentioned earlier, as far as morals and ethics. I know it's a personal thing, but what I mean when I refer to that is integrity. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Don't get in it because, as we said a second ago, there are people who flip. Well, guess got caught. There are some things that you did that were not ethical, that were illegal, that were just flat out wrong. You were told, well, if you kiss the butt and kiss the ring, you can have what you need. And some people did. So their nonprofits were able to receive they needed, as long as you do what I tell you to do, as long as you comply with what I expect for you, would you continue to tote the water and not rock the ship, rock the boat rather, we good to go. But covering for others, this is what you run into. I was born and raised in this city. I remember all the way things were when Mary Sykes was in office. Okay. I remember really well was getting a lot of people who were involved with civic duty out here. We were stressed, we were taught it's important. It's crucial to know what's going on. It's crucial to look at the issues and vote on the issues, not just on the color sensitive skin. Now, am I saying I don't want black people in office? I didn't say that. Do I just want white people in office? I don't care if you're black, white, or a bag of Skittles. Okay? Understand. You have got to be an issue. My preference would be to have someone who looks like me in office advocating for all of us and being able and earnest to advocate and actually provide something tangible to help unity, because all you have to do is drive through the city and you see who is in the deficit and who isn't. You can see with your own eyes who gets the regular maintenance of their what you call right of way and canals cleaned. You can see all of this. And I told someone the other day, it's Cloverdale, but unfortunately, some people are thinking When the whitification of Clovertail takes place, that's when y'all anything. Well, guess what? We're not waiting until that happens to Cloverdale. We're going to continue to advocate. We're going to continue, no matter what others do, even within this community, we're going to keep up as long as we have breath. And we're going to continue to point out what we need and do what we can to get it done.
So we're going to close out. We have 1 hour. Looks like, Melinda, I'm going to have you back when we do this again, which will be a couple of weeks. But Shante, we'll let you close out, and that'll be it for tonight. We'll do another Citizens Connection. I think the closer we get to November 7th, we'll do more, but we're going to do this pretty much once or twice a month, Melinda. So I'll have you back on because we got more to unpack here. But Shante, if you would take us out with your final words.
My final words are go vote, go vote, go vote. Vote on the issue, vote on the character, allow the character of the man or woman to mean more, represent more than their hair texture, than the shirt that they're wearing, than the glasses that they're wearing, and the pants that they're wearing, the skirt that they're wearing, than all of that. Go vote and vote for people who are going to actually do something and make a difference in your neighborhood.
All right. Thank you, Melinda. We'll talk soon.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Bryant, and I'm running for Savannah City Council in the 5th District. Leadership requires dedication and commitment to a community, not the advancement of oneself or the catering to those who already have generational wealth. In the 5th District, we have issues, and I intend to address all of them, from the fairgrounds debacle to the redistricting of property to satisfy developers, to our history of flooding and our community services and stronger engagement. Our district is and has always been the heart of Savannah. We have too rich a history in this city to not have the proper elected representation needed to help us flourish. Our current representative has been distracted and lost sight of the issues facing the 5th District. The 5th District can't take 4 more years of someone who doesn't care about the constituents or their expectations. If you put your trust in me by voting for and electing me, I promise that I will be a champion of this district and for all of your concerns. The days of personal profiteering and ignoring the will of the people stops now. A vote for Robert Bryant is a vote for true change. From Tatumville to Liberty City, from Sylvan Terrace to Quail Forest, from Poplar Place to Burritt, all the way to our friends in Hampstead. I will be an advocate for your concerns. I'm Robert Bryant, and I approve this message.